Hello. This video will demonstrate how to use the Cloud Automation Manager template designer to create a template that will provision an UrbanCode deploy application onto an AIX virtual machine running in PowerVC. First, let's start by creating a CAM project that will hold our Terraform configuration. Because PowerVC is OpenStack based, we will use OpenStack resources in our Terraform configuration. First, let's drag out a couple virtual machines and connect them to a network. I have specific fixed IP addresses that I need to use for my servers. I will add those as variables from the source view. Now that our infrastructure is set up, let's add our UrbanCode deploy components that make up our application. On the web server, we will add WebSphere Liberty and our application WAR file. Next, on the database server, we'll add a MySQL server as well as a component that configures a database for our application. Two of our components have multiple component processes. Let's make sure we select the correct component process for our AIX environment. An UrbanCode deploy agent is installed on each server using a provisioner. In order for the provisioner to complete successfully, we must correctly configure the connection information for the server. Let's set up a variable for the VM user and set its default to root. Also, I don't want to specify my own private key, so let's use the TLS private key that was created by Terraform. Since I'm no longer using the private key variable, the template designer puts a warning symbol on the variables tab. Let's go to that tab and remove the unused variable. Sometimes my AIX servers take a little bit of time to come up. Let's increase our timeout for the connection. The default operating system type for the UrbanCode deploy agent provisioner is Linux. Because we are provisioning to an AIX system, we must specify the appropriate operating system type. Our application is made up of several components, and these components must be run in a certain order. Let's sequence the deployment of the components. The application war component has an input property for the database host. We will use the properties view to set that. To make it easier to navigate to our application, I will add an output property for the application URL. The template is now complete. Let's use the toolbar icon to edit the variables and give them default values. As you can see here, you can also give your variables some other properties such as required or secured. As a final step before publishing this template to Cloud Automation Manager, let's update the CAM template JSON file. This file provides the metadata for the template in Cloud Automation Manager. In order to publish this template to Cloud Automation Manager, we must first push it to the remote Git repository. We will use the repositories view to do this. The right-hand view shows all the new files. We will select them all and commit them to our local repository. Now that our changes have been committed to our local repository, we will use the sync button to push them to the remote repository. With the changes now pushed to our remote repository, we can publish our template to Cloud Automation Manager. In Cloud Automation Manager, let's navigate to the template library. Here, you will see the template that we just published from the template designer. Let's deploy this template. First, I'm going to make sure that the template source and parameters look correct. Now we will deploy the template. Here, I will be asked to provide values for all of my variables defined in the template. Thankfully, I have given most of these variables default values in the template designer. The template is now being deployed. Let's switch over to the Log File tab. Here, we can monitor the progress of the deployment. During the deployment, let's check the status of the virtual machines in PowerVC. It looks like they're still in the process of being built. Back in Cloud Automation Manager, let's monitor the progress of the deployment and wait for it to complete. The deployment has completed successfully. Let's switch over to the Overview tab. Here you can see all the resources that have been created, as well as the input variables. Let's check the output variable that we defined for the application URL. We will navigate to this URL to verify that the JKE application was deployed successfully. It looks like the JKE web application has been deployed successfully. Let's log in to verify that the database has also been deployed successfully. The deployment looks great, and the virtual machines are active and healthy in PowerVC. As a final check, let's look at the environment created for the JKE application in UrbanCode Deploy. The inventory for our environment looks great. Thank you for watching this video on how to deploy an UrbanCode Deploy application onto an AAX machine running in PowerVC.